Hey everybody, I'm Tim Mooney. This week I'm enjoying the premiere of my one-man play, Breakneck, Twelfth Night. I've spent the last couple of decades getting folks interested in Shakespeare, sometimes seeing just what it was that Shakespeare was getting at, and what made him so wildly popular, not only in his time, but over the 5 centuries that followed. Over those 20 years, I've been amazed again and again just how powerful, how meaningful, how funny and dazzling these plays really are. I think we all expect these plays to be sophisticated, intelligent, clever, smart, and again, I find students and adults who are sure that these words are too far over their heads to actually understand, to make sense of, to enjoy or to laugh at. And maybe they kind of resent that. They know they're supposed to enjoy and appreciate these words, but in the face of not grasping these words, they resent the snobbishness, the superiority, and the flaunting of an intellectual code that passes secret messages among the elite. Well, after spending the last year memorizing and editing Breakneck, Twelfth Night, it struck me that this play has an immediate on-ramp. As more than any other Shakespeare play, it has dirty jokes. A lot of dirty jokes. I kind of explained just why that might be in a quick overview that you can catch on my YouTube page, but you probably recognize many of them as being dirty already, and you may find yourself wondering if Shakespeare really meant to say that in that particular way. Or you may think, no, he couldn't possibly mean that. Or it may just go over your head entirely. And I face the same questions. Did they know then what that word would come to mean to us now? Sometimes we'll just never know, but I think I can vouch for at least 90% of these. So let's check in on those. I'm going to explore some of the words that you might want to listen for. I'm going to do my best to explain as cleanly as I can just what these words might have meant to Shakespeare's audience and what they might now mean to us. Now, am I doing this because I've got a really dirty mind? Well, maybe a little. But if you're anything like about 99% of the population, probably you do a little bit too. But more important than that, if you can take a little time to actually literally flesh out, how these words translate into all that naughty stuff you're not supposed to get, well, then you can't help but pick up somewhere along the way some of the other qualities that Shakespeare's language, his verse, his nuance, his soaring rhetoric, and his brilliant, sometimes hilarious wordplay bring to life. And before I dive in, if you like dirty jokes, or if you like to finally get those jokes that only those snobby, effete intellectuals get to laugh at politely behind their hands, then please hit like, subscribe, and share. So today we're going to start with Act 1, Scene 1. Here's some stuff to look for. Duke Orsino is listening to music, and that music reaches its climax followed by what he calls a dying fall, after which he quickly loses interest. The French have a phrase for this, la petite mort, a little death. That is to say, the moment of sharp decline that follows the excitement of a climax. The Duke, who is in love with Olivia, learns that Olivia has committed to a 7-year period of isolated mourning for her brother's death, and rather than being dismayed and angry, he is awed at her great commitment to her brother's memory, and in the process, he invokes an allusion to Cupid, who is, of course, famous for shooting young lovers with his arrows. It really doesn't take much of a reach to suggest that Cupid's arrows are very easy to turn into symbols of something else, and Shakespeare's depiction of those arrows is not especially subtle. On the other side of that arrow, the Duke contemplates Olivia's sweet perfections, and we may wonder just what these particular perfections may be to Duke Orsino, at least until we hear just how those perfections interact with Cupid's rich golden arrow. With that said, here's the breakneck version of Act 1, Scene 1 of Twelfth Night. And when I say breakneck version, that's my streamlined performance of this scene, which keeps all the important lines and provides snarky narration to get you through the rest. The Shakespeare purists probably hate these versions, but I suspect they just want to keep their precious Shakespeare all to themselves, locked away in their ivory tower. Here goes. Act 1, Scene 1. Duke Orsino's palace. The Duke commands his musicians. If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that surfeiting the appetite may sicken and so die. That strain again, it had a dying fall. Oh, enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before. Enter Valentine, a servant with a suspiciously appropriate name, given that Orsino sent him off with messages of love. How now? What news from her? So please, my lord, I might not be admitted, but from her handmaid do return this answer. The element itself, till 7 years' heat, shall not behold her face at ample view, but like a cloistress she will veiled walk her chamber round, with eye offending brine to season a brother's dead love in her sad remembrance. Oh, she that hath a heart of such fine frame, to pay this debt of love but to a brother, how will she love when the rich golden shaft hath killed the flock of all affections else, and all her sweet perfections are supplied and filled with one self-king? So, that's Act 1, Scene 1. Maybe you see a little ribald humor in there, a little borderline bawdy, lasciviously lewd. Well, that's just Scene 1. Check back again for Scene 2, Scene 3, and onward through this play. Can Shakespeare possibly keep this up? That would certainly demand a bit of stamina. Thanks, I'm Tim Mooney with the Timothy Mooney Repertory Theater, and I bring these breakneck shows to theaters around the United States. I plot out a path that takes me around all 48 contiguous states twice a year, and would love to come and perform for you and your group. Don't worry, these shows are about far more than those dirty bits, and I make them just a tiny bit more subtle in the context of the play. You can also find my work online at breakneckshakespeare.com. See you on the stage.